911 operator. My girlfriend, who's not pregnant, on her period, just had a baby. No, she did it in the bathtub. It's born. What do you mean? I don't know. I just met it. I don't know. Unplanned pregnancies are like 0.0001% for a trans guy.
Yeah. In honor of Pride Month, this episode is made possible with the support of Spring Health. Can you talk a little bit about how you met each other?
The first time that we met, I remember looking at him and I was like, I don't really know what like your gender is, or you're a girl or a guy or what, but I was like, but they're cute. It's kind of like, why is this guy hitting on me? In this sense where I felt like almost, not like a poser, but I was like super gay.
I was passing almost before I got on T, so like 9 months on T, like just no one knew. One of our jokes is like I was the first boy she kissed. It was a good kiss. You were very forward.
Yeah.
Which was unexpected because also incredibly shy.
The first few relationships I had, it was more about my appearance. They didn't want to get to know me. That was like one of the first points where he was like, if we want to go forward in our relationship, we have to talk. I was like, oh, okay, like you want to get to know me.
Okay, can you take off maybe both of your hats? Can you talk about the assumptions people make about you as a couple?
I think the obvious one is that we're straight. There is a privilege to that because there's the outside world, but then there's also like the fact that you kind of lose your queer card. We've lived that queer experience, we've questioned who we are based off of what's appropriate or what's seen as normal. I mean, I was bi and then gay, then trans, and now I'm back to being straight. It's just like a full circle. The queer community was the thing that made me so content with being myself and empowered me to become August. So when I became it and I felt happy to not really receive that anymore, almost the exact opposite, to be rejected because of those things. It was the last thing I expected. Being parents, like, no, I really just don't care about that anymore. Like, I'm just gonna be a dad. I'm gonna like work on my daddy bod, just like being dad. Those things that we really struggled with before just aren't that important because, we're gonna raise Beau in like a incredibly accepting home. And I think that has everything to do with the fact that we are queer.
So can you talk a little bit about your journey becoming parents?
We'd always had a very healthy conversation about okay, she wasn't sure if she wanted to be a parent. I was sure that I wanted to be a parent, but I wanted to give her time to figure out that's something that she she really wanted. Syd and I really struggled during quarantine.
I'd been laid off.
Syd had been laid off.
You couldn't work really anymore because
I had gotten top surgery, and so there's all that post-surgical depression with healing and giving yourself time, and we'd both gained a little bit of weight, so we had no idea Syd was pregnant.
No, I had no I had no idea I was pregnant.
I mean, she was wearing crop tops. There was no idea.
I was doing photo shoots, I was modeling. There are pictures of me 20 days before I gave birth.
She's still on her period.
Still having my period, and which is called a cryptic pregnancy.
Two different kinds. There's one where the mother's able to hide it from the people she's closest to. There's another where the pregnancy actually is hidden from the mom.
The pregnancy was a product of an assault. That was something that I really didn't want to live with. My mind did that. It just was like, this never happened. August was going through so much as well with his top surgery. It's kind of almost this I can't let anything happen.
So much was happening
in the world and in our lives, and just kind of gave this perfect disguise for it, but also something that I could almost hide behind. I didn't think about it once until Beau was born.
Was the assault before the pandemic, right before?
It was
right before really that it started shutting down. I never left the house. I pretty much sat on the couch and binged TV shows.
I was like, you don't seem like yourself. What's going on? Talk to me. She's like, I'm just really depressed. I don't feel like me.
It was like this, I don't get why I'm feeling this way. I never hit rock bottom like that, where I was like, I have never been this depressed and this, suicidal ever before, where I was like, you know what, it might just be better if I'm not around anymore to feel this way.
I wouldn't leave the house, not without her. Now, I listen to true crime podcasts, okay? I started listening to this one that was about cryptic pregnancies, and we are driving back from Temecula, 2 hours.
2 hours in the car,
shit
and I started
about how, how could she not know she's not pregnant?
There's no way. She definitely knew.
She
they
knew.
knew.
Oh God, I've watched my mom be pregnant. There's no way that that mom did not know.
I remember 15 minutes before we got home, I was like, oh my God, like what is
You had
this
been
pain?
complaining about your hips
hurting. I was like,
and
I can't get comfortable. What's happening? I was like, oh, I must be starting my period. It had slowly, as I'd gotten older, gotten worse. So I was like, okay, like I'm just getting older. Also with like the weight gain, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, my metabolism's finally quit. Like I'm just gonna, like this is it. This is the end of my youth. And so that morning, Saturday morning, tossing and turning all night. I like hadn't slept at all. So I went and took a bath. I'm in the bathtub. There's this feeling where I was, in a lot of pain and I wasn't gonna call for help.
I knock on the door. She's like, don't come in.
Yeah, very firm, like just don't come in.
I gotta pee though. Like I really gotta pee.
Right when he knocked was when I saw the head. I just like put my hips up and I just pushed. I looked down and I'm like, there's a head coming out of my vagina. And out came this like ball of a baby in this like human sack, and the water broke then. So like, but she fell in the tub. I pulled her out. The water broke, and that's when she just like opened her eyes and looked at me and went, whack. Like it was like it all hit me in that point, and I was like bawling. I was like shaking. Still tethered to me, blood everywhere, and all our animals were like,
what the fuck was that? Where'd that come from? So I like got up and went to look in the hallway for a baby. I didn't think it was coming from my apartment.
Right. No.
Yeah, no. Why would I think that?
I had like come out of the bathroom. It's like a horror movie because he just turns around and I'm like, I had a baby.
It just hands me the child.
And still attached to me. Like I'm just like, I come out and I just tried to hand him the baby and he's like,
so you cheated?
The paramedics came. There were probably like 8 of them.
Paramedics in our 1-bedroom apartment.
They just kind of lifted me up and took me away.
Everyone had questions, but we didn't have any answers.
They were like, we don't know the gestational age. We don't know why she looks so normal, but she's so small.
They didn't really tell us much. They didn't really feel like we deserved answers at that point. Yeah. But this plays into like our heterosexual appearance, where it's like they didn't think
and because
this would be
it was
impossible.
COVID, we didn't want to say that he wasn't the biological dad because he would have,
I didn't want to get kicked out of the hospital, so we didn't tell them.
We were like, we had a baby. I didn't know I was pregnant, and they kind of treated us like drug addicts. It was just kind of this living in the reality that they'd painted for us.
So did the memory come back that you had shut down like immediately?
Yeah, it had come back, and I think it had come back when I saw the baby, connecting almost the dots of where she'd come from. I was still blaming myself a lot. I still hadn't really come to terms with what had happened, so it was like almost like this, yeah, I cheated. I feel like society puts you in this like, oh, you were drinking, oh, you were in this, setting, like you let this happen. I didn't want to be the victim of something like this.
So you can be the bad guy.
So I'll be the, like this, I let this happen.
The first question that I asked her when I saw the baby, she said that it was her fault. And I mean, my heart was broken.
Yeah.
There's not really another way to say it. I was pretty shattered. I couldn't even look at her for the first like 24 hours. I was devastated.
And he called my mom, he called his mom. And the first few people that he talked to were like,
my best friend was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I know Syd. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that, I know you two. That doesn't make sense. And I felt the same. That first day was like, I mean, really I can like remember it almost moment to moment, and yet it's also a blur.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I think it was just this, I felt really alone, I think, the first day. Like, even though, he's checking in on me, it was like this, I had a baby, I'm gonna lose you. That was the last thing I wanted in this moment, was like, he was the only person that I wanted to talk to. And there was no pressure, too. Like, I was like, I know this is a lot, but like, take your time in figuring out how you wanna go forward.
About halfway through the day, I had called a friend who came over, and he brought his girlfriend at the time, and she was a monster. Yeah. And she pretty much told me that there's no way she didn't know she was pregnant. She should have gotten an abortion. There's no way that we could raise this child.
Women always report their assaults.
We need to put this baby up for adoption. And
you're unfit to be parents.
I was pissed. I was like, how dare you come over on the hardest day of my life and make it harder? Having that confrontation with this girl led me back to Syd. I'd gone back to the hospital to just vent. Syd's mom had flown into town the next day, and we were driving back to the airport, and I was like, I don't think Syd cheated. Like, I'm pretty sure she was assaulted. And she just was like, that's the first thing I said to Syd's father. Like, none of this makes sense. And it was kind of almost like letting Syd know that it was okay, that that's what happened.
Finally, once we were able to talk about it, that's when it really came, like where I was like, this is that wasn't consensual. And I was like, I know this is a lot to ask of you, but like right now I just need you to like, I just want to like hold, I just need you to hold me.
She was the only one not asking me what I was going to do. I mean, I was in there and she was under an incubator and she was the tiniest thing that you'd ever seen. And I like put my hand in there to touch her and she held onto my knuckle and that was it. I was sold.
He was like, that's my kid. We manifested her.
Can you each talk about how having the baby, how Beau has changed you?
She's just given us like a life back. I remember when he came in, he was like, you know, how are you feeling? And I was like relieved. Like, I don't feel crazy anymore. Like, I was having, you know, prepartum depression, but then it was like, you know, postpartum, I was like, I feel like myself again. The will to live is something that I don't think I've ever had as much as I do now, which is something that I really am grateful for.
And where are you at now when it comes to like accepting what happened to you, like the trauma of the assault?
I'm always telling myself like I wouldn't change a thing. Beau is not a product of anything negative. The pregnancy might have been a product of this, but we manifested Beau. I couldn't see my life without her. So like no matter the amount of trauma that I did face, she's made up for anything and much more. I've come to terms with it happening, and I think it's something that, you know, in my head, it's like I would never want this to happen to my daughter.
It seems like what you're saying is that the whole entire thing brought you to your purpose.
It did, and it brought me a new hope and a new dream to be a strong woman, you know, role model for my daughter. I never want her to feel like she was, you know, a mistake or unwanted.
We would never not tell her because then it would be this big secret.
And I had been ashamed of it for so long that
Exactly.
It was like, you know, I never need her to feel like we were hiding anything from her because we were ashamed of her.
With all of the possible things that could have happened, the fact that she bled for 2 days, the underlying health conditions, Beau surviving, I mean, it is, it's 1 in a billion.
When do you feel the most vulnerable with the other?
When I'm emotional, because he's the only one that I'm emotional with.
Syd sees me for everything that I am. She treats me like the man that I am to her. However, she also understands that I'm coming from a place of dual experience.
When do you think the other one is the most beautiful?
All the time.
When August is the most confident, you know, when I see him really like beaming and, you know, proud of something, you know, I see him and I'm like, hi, this is like, I love this version, like this part of you where you believe in yourself.
I love when Syd's showing her art. And then obviously like when you're with Beau, you know, like something changed.
Beau really did complete me. I think she just, you know, took kind of all the bad like with her, but like brought in so much good. Like it was just like expelling and then, you know, giving me something in return. Shorts.
All right.
Can each of you talk about why being in this journey together, why it's a good place to be?
There's this endless growth that I could see with her that is just, you know, there's so many places we can go. When Beau was in the hospital, we had gotten some news that she is going to be a special needs child. And that is crazy because not only are we parents, but we're parents of a kid who's going to require a lot of special attention.
4 physical therapy appointments a week.
And
like,
you know
we're doing a lot. Everything that we've had in our lives to this moment is just like meant to be in this form that it's prepared us for the future.
How do you feel now, and both of you, and you, with you're taking off your clothes?
I'm in a room full of beautiful people, and I'm standing in front of very vulnerable. This is one of those moments, but I'm glad that she's also next to me.
I mean, he's just brought so much good out of me that I didn't know was there. Every time that there's been almost a breaking point, you know, we're put together for a reason. divinely favored, divinely tested. Like we just get through it together, and I think that we'll always do that.
You're each other's mirrors.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of What's Underneath in honor of Pride Month, made possible with the support of Spring Health.
For more interviews like these, go check out StyleLikeU and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit the bell so you can get notifications for new episodes every Thursday. Says Beau.